Today, we're looking at a fascinating and honestly pretty radical take on a very well-known biblical story. This comes from the teachings of Daniel Lamptey, and he makes the case that the book of Ruth, it's not really about Ruth. He says it's about someone else, someone you'd never expect.
I mean, think about that for a second. The entire book of Ruth is for Lot. That's a huge claim. It completely turns the whole narrative on its head. So the question is, how on earth do we get from a story about a faithful Moabite woman to a story about her ancestor, Lot?
Okay, so to even begin to wrap our heads around this, we've got to rewind the tape a bit and talk about Lot himself. In the grand biblical story, Lot is, well, he's a bit of a mess. As Daniel Lamptey puts it, he's kind of an unsolved case, a loose thread.
You know the guy, right? He's pretty much defined by disaster. He chose the wrong city, he made some really poor choices, and his story just kind of fizzles out in disgrace. His legacy seems totally sealed, and not in a good way. He seems about as far from God's blessing as you can get.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's one catastrophe after another. He barely escapes Sodom, his wife gets turned into a pillar of salt, and then there's that horrifying incident in the cave with his daughters. The result? Two nations, Moab and Ammon, born from incest and destined to be enemies of Israel. His fate seems completely sealed.
But, and this is a huge but, according to Daniel Lamptey, there's a key to this whole thing that most of us miss. A foundational clue that changes everything. The unbreakable promise that God made to Abraham, Lot's uncle.
And listen, this wasn't just some casual promise. The Abrahamic covenant was like a spiritual ironclad guarantee. It was so powerful, its blessings and its protection went way beyond just Abraham himself. It covered the people he loved too. And here is where it all clicks into place in Lamptey's teaching. Because Abraham loved his nephew Lot, God's covenant to love essentially created a spiritual covering for Lot. So God's plan for Lot wasn't about Lot's own goodness. He didn't have much. It was rooted in God's incredible relationship with Abraham.
So with that foundation laid, let's jump over to the book of Ruth. This is where we see what Lamptey calls a plan of divine mathematics start to unfold. It's this incredible, intricate spiritual strategy designed to redeem Lot's entire legacy.
I mean, this was the massive spiritual hurdle, right? How do you possibly take a family line that started with incest and disgrace and bring it into the holy lineage of Israel? The solution, according to this interpretation, was a really complex spiritual process called engrafting.
So Lamptey lays out this incredible, almost surgical plan. Step 1, target the cursed line, specifically the Moabites from Lot's first daughter. Step 2, select two women, Ruth and Orpah, who symbolically represent Lot's two daughters. Step 3, try to bring both of them into the family of Israel. But the ultimate goal, the real prize, was to secure one of those lines, graft it right onto the most important branch of Israel's family tree, the royal tribe of Judah.
But something this big, this spiritually significant, well, it doesn't come for free. Lamptey explains that for this divine operation to actually work, a very specific and symbolic price had to be paid.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Lamptey draws this incredible parallel. Remember Lot's wife? She turned back. She was cut off. Well, look at Orpah. She represents that second daughter's line, and she also turns back. She chooses to leave Naomi and the God of Israel. And in doing so, her line is cut off from this inheritance, perfectly marrying that original loss.
But wait, there was an even deeper price. For a lineage that was literally born out of incest, to be joined with God's holy people, that original curse had to be cleansed. And according to this teaching, that required a blood sacrifice, a form of atonement.
And what was that cost? 3 lives. The sacrifice happened in the land of Moab itself, with the deaths of 3 men from Judah, Naomi's husband Elimelech and their 2 sons. In this view, their lives were the price paid to redeem Lot's line.
So the price has been paid. The second line has been cut off. One line, Ruth's, has successfully been brought over. And now, the final, absolutely incredible part of this plan can be completed.
And the payoff? Wow. It is absolutely staggering. Ruth, a direct descendant of Lot, the outcast, marries Boaz, who is from the royal tribe of Judah. And their family line leads directly to King David himself. And of course, that's the Messianic line.
So you see, through this lens, the entire book is flipped on its head. It becomes the story of God's unbelievable, covenant-keeping, long-game plan to redeem Lot, the outcast, and give him an eternal royal inheritance that he absolutely never could have earned on his own.
So the big takeaway here isn't just a new way to look at the Book of Ruth. It's a lens that makes you wonder about all the other stories we think we know so well. It leaves you asking, what other profound, hidden plans might be hiding just beneath the surface, right there in plain sight?